We're taking back ownership over our own wellness and redefining what is useful. My name is Teresa Keto Dickerson, and I'm on a mission to change the conversation around the standard of acceptable. We're disrupting the way products are consumed and the ideas that we are in charge of our own wellness. Through connecting to community and professionals, we're clearing the path to live organically. This is an organic journey. I want to introduce you to today's guest. She's a tantric healer working with energy, body, emotion, and mind. During her healing sessions, guided meditation, and sound healing sessions, she accompanies people on their journey towards themselves and their joy, guiding them to their introspection with many aspects of themselves on their journey to wellness. We're honored to have her on our show today. Ladies and gentlemen, Ella Fuksbrauner. Thank you, Ella, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So before we hop straight into the wonders of Tantra, I also noticed that you were a singer-songwriter. So what are some of your most favorite moments captured during studio sessions?
Oh my goodness. Caught me off guard from the get-go.
Oh, sorry.
Um, yeah, well, that's a good question. I can tell you, I haven't sung in a long time in that in that context. I've done
Ah,
a lot of, not a lot, but some sound healing,
mhm.
like these past times. But I did make an album when I lived in South America because I grew up in Colombia, South America.
Mhm.
And I recorded an album there with a wonderful producer and an amazing, really talented musician, and we made the songs together in the studio. And I have a specific, very specific memory of the very most amazing moment I had in the studio, singing a song that I wrote in Spanish, which is called Puede Ser, which means it can be, like things can be, it's okay.
Right.
I just need to breathe, and it was really, really magical, and it kind of stayed with me.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you use sound healing you use your own singing as part of your sound healing.
Yes,
Oh, that's
actually, that's the sound. I've thought about kind of modifying the title sound healing because
mhm.
really it's more sing healing than anything
Ah,
else.
right.
You don't. It's not the traditional sound healing with the the bowls and
Right.
not all. It's completely different. But then I don't know how I feel about calling it sing healing because then I guess it has a whole other bunch of connotations.
Right.
I call it sound healing and I explain to people that I sing sometimes.
Right. So when I was preparing for this interview, I was on your page, and the most profound and internally courageous picture I've ever seen in my life was your belly. And with that caption, I think it was one of the scariest things. I think this is one of the scariest things I've done. Ladies and gentlemen, my belly motherfuckers. Like that. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just like, yes, so it's like, so what was it about like that day? Like, what was it about that moment that made you just want to embrace yourself and just share yourself and just be like fuck everything and just what I mean, like what was it about that?
Uh, it's it's a long story. I'm going to have to think of a way of really summarizing it, but it's
Right.
not just a moment. It really is an entire journey of going from a place of shame, profound shame, depression, anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
non-acceptance of anything, loss, despair, um, just real valley of death.
Yeah.
Going from that place in a journey towards love, surrender, light, joy, acceptance. And it's a journey that has happened. It's been a long journey, and it's happened by stages. And in each stage, there's been like a whole immense, experience of discovery, and it's all gone through the meeting of my vulnerability. I think
Mm-hmm.
Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability, right? She's a
Mm-hmm.
woman that I like very much because of it resonates a lot with my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so being vulnerable is very scary because that's like the definition of vulnerability itself is kind of opening up to what you don't know or what you haven't
Right.
seen or where you're very fragile,
Right.
you could potentially I mean, I guess I don't know if you can potentially be broken, but you can feel like you can be broken from
Yeah.
responsibility, and healing from there. And
Right.
so unveiling my body and showing it to the world, which is something that I didn't do, that I started like very early on in time. I was kind of taught, and by accident, nobody did it on purpose, you know, but I was
Right.
taught to be ashamed of my body.
Right.
And my belly is like this really, really big deal. So I've been hiding my body and hiding my belly
Right.
forever. And so in this journey of kind of unveiling and bringing light to the places of shame, because shame is basically darkness, you know, it's like hiding everything.
Right.
It's healing, and it's scary, it's terrifying. Like I took that photo without thinking about it. I didn't prepare it, you know, ahead of time. I
Right.
was just there, I was meditating, and then suddenly I saw myself kind of put the camera in front, take the photo. I think I wanted to see how it looked. I'm not sure what happened.
Right.
And I just posted it without giving it a second thought. And my heart was just about to like
Yeah.
explode, and just I was very, very nervous. And then I saw that there was this massive reaction from people, and then I realized that people have a lot of shame, that we all carry a lot of shame around. Um, so it wasn't just me. Like what I did
Yeah.
resonated profoundly with other people, and I was very surprised. I was taken aback. I mean, so yeah, it was a very empowering moment
Yeah,
for me.
it what like you almost make me want to do it because I have 3 kids, and so I have a bunch of stretch marks. And yeah, like when I saw that, I was just like, you know what, hell yeah. Like I don't know, it was very profound. Thank you for sharing that, because I think seeing other people makes you realize, whatever, like I'm cool just the way I am, like who cares. So thank you for that. I just, hopefully you'll if I'm going to ask you if we can, for the video portion of this, if we can show it, because I just think it resonates with people. So I wanted to ask you about, now that you're running your business, like um and getting into the core of your specialty, which is working around energy. I want to start where most of us think about what we know about Tantra. So what are the common myths around it?
So most people think that Tantra is are techniques to have good sex.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, people think
Yeah.
of Tantra and they think of sex.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's great. You know, if people use Tantra to have good sex,
Right.
that's great, because good sex is great. Who doesn't like good sex?
Right. Exactly.
The issue with that misconception is that Tantra is like good sex is just a tiny portion,
Mm-hmm.
very, very small part of what Tantra actually is. And when you talk to people about Tantra, or when I do at least, you know, they immediately kind of have this idea, and it's a skewed perception that doesn't enable them to see just how much power Tantra has in terms of healing, and of being a journey of just, you know, improving life and waking up. That is so amazing.
I think that's really cool. Yeah. So are there any other myths, or is it just the people just go straight to sex, the period?
People generally go straight to sex, but people are also very curious, like, because
Right.
they know, for example, I you know, I became a tantric healer, and I think I'm the least likely person to have become a tantric healer in the world. Like my friends, people who know me, like what's going on.
Yeah.
So they know that it's not that, you know, I'm just kind of some kind of sex crazed person, which again, there's nothing wrong with that
Right.
at all. But yeah, coming from me, people are curious, like, what do you mean? Like, what, hold on, what is that? So they're very open to, like, whatever, all the things that I have to share regarding Tantra. But yeah, that's the main kind of misconception with Tantra, I think.
So what is it then? Like, so when you are teaching people about Tantra, or you're using the Tantric arts in your healing sessions, what exactly is happening?
Well, it is a different journey for everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
because every person is in a different place in their mind, in their body, in their lives. You know,
Mm-hmm.
every kind of internal battlefield is different. So the tantric experience is different. Everyone's going to experience it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to kind of describe it in a sentence or two, I would say that Tantra is the experience through which you put together the physical experience, the mental experience, and the energetic / emotional experience,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of align the three of them, right?
Mm.
Or if we separate energy from emotion. Emotion is like the manifestation of energy in the body.
Mm. Okay.
So that's why we often talk about it together, energy and emotion. And through that process of connecting these like components, these
Mm-hmm.
three components, you kind of, that's when you shed, we can say, or you can disintegrate all the patterns and the paradigms that we have, and the misconceptions, or the things that make us suffer, that bring pain in our lives, that we have kind of embedded in our system, in
Mm-hmm.
our framework,
Mm-hmm.
which is internal, and it's very profound, and we can't see it. It's not so easy to see in our kind of day-to-day existence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Tantra definitely involves obviously working with the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it also involves working with the mind, and also involves working with the energy and the meditation, and kind of the elevation of consciousness. It's kind of looking for the way to bring all these parts, kind of to align all of this and bring all of it together, and to find a way of disengaging from the things that are blocked in us, the things that are like frozen or stuck, or that we feel are broken.
Right.
And in truth aren't. Sometimes we feel like we're really broken beyond repair. It can be very, very harrowing, but it's not, in my experience, in any case, I know now that it's not true.
Right. So you're speaking a lot about energy, and for those out there who are listening, because the organic journey is the podcast, and like pretty much my whole entire program around this is all about people getting introduced to like new things, new ways of healing, new something that they might have tried one thing and it didn't work, and instead of them just giving up, it's like, well, let me try this next thing, because like you said, experiences are different for everybody, and everybody has a journey. So what would you say energy is? Like, what would you say, like, what is it that you're manipulating? How can a person who's never heard of it sort of like reconcile what you're talking about?
I mean, yeah, it's it's not easy to talk about energy, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also when you haven't been working with it, it's also not easy to understand. What do you mean energy? And
Yeah.
I feel kind of, I want to be always careful when I speak with people about energy, because I get it, like, you know, what do you mean energy?
Right.
But and energy is one of those things that are easier to experience than to explain.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. So when I talk about energy with people, I use an example. The example that I use, which is very basic, very simple, is you walk into a room
Mm-hmm.
and you feel the energy in the room, right? In a room where there's people, for
Yeah.
example, there's a party, or I don't know, a class,
Right.
or a family dinner, or any different situation. You walk into a room with people and you feel a particular energy, right?
Right.
We all have that capacity to read and understand energy. How far we go in our interaction or understanding or awareness of energy is relative. But
Right.
we all do intrinsically know what energy is. We don't pay that much attention to it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
there. So I don't know that I can explain what energy is. I know that I can describe the experience of it.
Right.
I can tell you that there is energy, and that there is healing energy.
Right.
Um, yeah, the energies in which we are kind of evolving and functioning, and then there's a healing energy, which is like a much stronger, higher energy that we can
Right.
bring. And that is really for me, has been the journey of a lifetime, and still an ongoing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Discovering what this healing energy is, how to bring it, how to channel it, and how to experience it for myself.
I know, I like that. I mean, it's a feeling that you have, I mean, that we all have. And I think that was a really great way to do it, because walk into a room, there's not one person who doesn't understand what that means. So like, yeah, like you're right. It's an experience. I think people automatically were able to be like, yeah, that's what that is. Cause we've all done it. Right. So, so what would you say, you started talking about like, this healing energy, you just started to begin talking about that. So talk about tantric healing and tantric meditation as a strategy for wellness. Um, how would you sort of like, what steps would a person use to get started in it?
Well, there are different kind of components to Tantra. There is Tantra yoga, for example. There is such a thing as tantric massage. You know, there are people who give specific tantric massage. There is tantric kind of sexuality, just you want when you have, I don't know, when you have a partner or you want to learn something about becoming a better lover or having better sex, and then you can go to, I don't know, courses or probably sign up online to workshops on, you know, how to have better tantric sex.
Mm-hmm.
Particular component. There is, in my experience with my teacher, such a thing as tantric meditation, and there are tantric healers. Tantric healers are people who approach the way you would approach, you know, other types of healers. I think there are many, many, many different types of healers in different kind of disciplines.
Right.
So they're tantric, like shamanic healers that kind of do the work with you the way a psychologist would do the work with you, or the way a Reiki healer would do the work with you. Just a holistic approach to healing. So you've got all those different avenues, and you can combine depending on what your needs are. You can. There's also a lot of literature. I personally recommend more approaching like Tantra from an experiential place. That's the way I've been doing it. You know, first I'm discovering about it, and then afterwards kind of reading more. And then when you read it, it resonates so much better with what you're experiencing. It's supposed to be the other way around, because when you read first and then you experience, you're really in your mind all the time. And
Trying to think about it.
Exactly. You're thinking about it more than you're actually kind of integrating it.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, so what would you say? So what was the book that you just mentioned? Like, what's a book you think a beginner should pick up to?
Oh God, no, I really wouldn't know. I mean, I'm looking for. It's kind of embarrassing, but to say that I don't really know what book I could recommend to people, because I'm looking for information that kind of resonates with the experience that I'm having, and so far I haven't really found the right literature. And I
sounds like a book opportunity.
Oh my goodness. I compare myself in my tantric experience. I compare myself to those two chefs. Like, you know how there's like these cooking programs, and in these cooking programs they go and find these chefs that are like self-taught. I'm not self-taught. I have a teacher, but I didn't, you know, I am not an academic or anything. So you know, people kind of learn to cook the most amazing things in the street, and then you have like this tiny restaurant in, I don't know, Bangkok, and people forming a line of like, I don't know, dozens of people are waiting just to have this one little simple little dish that this person has learned how to cook. You know that?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Analogy for me, that's the way I feel about my experience with Tantra.
So you say, like, you know, go and like, I mean, think, you know, we've got Google now, so it's like go on Google or like wherever. I'm not really sure where, you know, it's an international show. Wherever you get your knowledge from on the internet, and just type it in and just sort of like try to take in some things. Could you recommend some blogs that you follow?
No, because the teachings that I follow, other than the ones that I'm following here in Israel, where I'm located with, you know, my teacher and the people that I know here locally, are not really tantric is the thing. There are many sources of inspiration I find online that really resonate with the experience that I'm having, but those sources aren't tantric. When I do look into tantric information, I'm either looking for very, very specific things that I can find, that I have found on blogs here and there, but a few blogs. I can't remember their names. But I haven't found, you know, tantric masters online that I can really follow. It's more like spiritual, energetic people who do work that is similar or resonates a lot with what I'm doing and what I'm learning.
Oh, that's a good way, right? Like, you find the people who resonate with you. That's pretty much how you're going to be able to get in alignment with that. That makes sense.
Here's what I believe. When you're looking, sometimes you're looking for something and you don't know what it is.
Right.
So you're open enough and you allow it, it comes to you.
That's very true.
So what you need to be open to are the things that resonate with you, the things that feel right, the things that when you're looking at them really catch you, that make you feel somehow more complete, that makes something move inside you. So yeah,
And
the information comes to you when you're looking for, even if you don't know exactly what it is.
right.
You need to be kind of
Especially when you're open, right? Like, because you're basically asking the universe to bring something. Like, when you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna be open to it. Universe, give me what it is that you need me to get, and it just comes to you. I love that. I love that. I'm a huge believer in just, manifest destiny, but really just knowing that, like, asking the universe for something, because more than likely it was supposed to come to you anyways. You just have to be open to it, right? So that's amazing. Okay, so as a beginner, find the things that resonate with me. Find, be open, finding masters or even people in your community who might be in your space already. Okay, that makes
kind of,
sense.
open, turn on the antenna, and you will receive the information, and it will start kind
Right.
of coming to you. Not only the information, the insight, like the profound wisdom of things. And there's a lot of wisdom in many different disciplines. So
Yeah, I get. So, okay, we're talking about being open. We're talking about receiving the energy slash knowledge, whatever it is that we're looking for. But as humans, our emotions and our body's chemistry do tend to interfere. So what are some, what are, wonderful, what are some of those roadblocks that people that are trying to go on this journey and using the tantric modality as their roadmap? What are some of the roadblocks that they might encounter?
So one of the things, and this is also something very specific to the teachings that I'm receiving and the
Mm-hmm.
journey that I'm in, which I'm infinitely grateful for, is that it's not just learning about the light and
Mm-hmm.
the wonderful healing energy and kind of the access to bliss. It's also really learning to work with discomfort, with pain, with trauma, with all those things that we don't want to look at, with anger, with
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, with anxiety, with depression, with anything that feels to us like it's negative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is actually very valuable material to work with
Mm-hmm.
and to heal from, and to kind of have a dialogue with within the world of Tantra. So the biggest blocks are always within ourselves. My teacher always says, your enemy is you.
Mm-hmm.
um, so our blocks are just our resistance to encountering our own pain, our own fear, everything that's inside that we've kind of hidden, our own shame, all of these. So everyone's blockages are going to be different as well, depending on
Mm-hmm.
their story and on where they are. But there are always going to be challenges, but the blockages are actually what can propel you, what can teach you, what are your one of the greatest values are these blockages.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see them as something with value, you can really integrate that into the process. But I would say, yeah, there is fear because it's an encounter with yourself. Tantra, it's a place where you finally kind of look at the parts of yourself that you haven't been wanting to see.
Right.
You identify with things that you have to kind of that you're invited to let go of, which
Yeah.
will really, really heal you and make you feel better. But it's scary to do that.
Right.
It's not always easy to let go of these things that we kind of latch onto because sometimes we don't know what else to do.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that will resonate with people as well. I didn't get a chance to ask you about this, and I really wanted to when I was learning about it. You mentioned it shortly. It's like using light as healing, or so are you encouraging the healing to happen through different lights, or like how does that work?
Um,
Or is it metaphorical light?
no, it's there are different levels of understanding light.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, you can understand it with your mind, in
Mm-hmm.
which case it's metaphorical, but you're still imagining it, and that has a lot of power. When
Mm-hmm.
people meditate and you just say, "Oh, imagine that this light is coming in,"
Mm-hmm.
That in and of itself is an extremely healing gesture. And it's very small, very simple. Close your eyes, breathe, and imagine that you're, exhaling darkness or toxins or stress or whatever, and that you're inhaling light. This is something I do in the guided meditations all the time. And it's very, very powerful, just imagining that. Then there's the light that you bring to the emotions, which is very, very intense work you do. And then there's like that you bring to the body, right? And then there's just the energetic light, which, once you've done enough of the work, you can really, 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 it becomes absolutely, palpable.
Mm.
So I would just say the light is the same, but there's just different kind of levels of understanding or perceiving it. So the metaphor of the light is just kind of one, dimension in which you can understand light. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So it's like, and especially if a person's trying to heal themselves from any type of negative energy and dark, saying, exhale the darkness and inhale the light. It gives people, especially beginners, something to really focus on. So that makes 100% sense. So let's see, I want you to get into advocating for tantric healing, tantric arts, and I also want you to share with my listeners how they can reach you as a partner for their wellness. Because the goal of my show and my network is to connect people with the professionals, right? So I want you to share like your work. So like, give me like your elevator pitch around, and I know that sounds a little crass. We're talking about like the, healing ourselves, et cetera, and like working with these like really high energy type modalities. But if someone like, if you had to explain it to somebody really quick, because they needed it, but they weren't going to really give you that much time, how would you explain it?
Okay, so this is a good exercise for me because
Yeah. I know, right? These are the hard parts.
I got my experience with the elevator pitch.
Right.
Okay, so the bottom line of Tantra is that it's first of all, it's a journey. It's more focused on the experience that you have as opposed to the results. However, this journey is kind of designed to heal you and to make you, and healing you, what healing you does is just, it makes you feel better.
Right.
So making you feel better is what's going to transform life. So there are going to be results one way or the other.
Right.
If the journey works for you, if it makes you feel better, which is the idea. Um, it's for everyone. There's nothing that you have that can stop you from doing it. Meaning, there's no condition that you have that is, counterintuitive or counteractive. You can try it from wherever you are, in whichever situation that you are. And yeah, it's also, I would say it's also something that would work for people who are looking to kind of put the parts together. If they feel that maybe people have done the work in their minds, but it's just kind of something is missing, or people do meditate, sit or do yoga or things with their body, but their mind is still kind of driving them crazy, or they're trying to do things, but there's kind of something, there's that little push that's also, something is stuck and they don't know what it is. Sometimes you're working on a different aspect and you just feel like there are things that are missing, especially the body, I would say, for me, because that's what led me in the end to doing the tantric work, is that I was doing a lot of work in the mind. I also did some of the emotional work, but I was still not in my body, and now I really am. So much so that I was able to post a photo with, my belly.
Yeah.
Show it to the world.
Right. Be that courageous woman. That is amazing. So is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't, that you think you want people to take away from this interview, this conversation?
I think your questions were great. I would say maybe the one thing that I would add is that, we spoke at the beginning about the fact that Tantra work is working with energies. And a big part of that is unblocking things that are stuck in us. And we all have a lot of things that are stuck inside. We can't see them and we struggle with them, but we don't know. And then we bring them out to the world, and the world kind of throws it in our faces.
Yeah.
And we get frustrated and we get lost. And what Tantra does is also it starts working from the energy and from kind of getting these stuck things, disengaging them, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, then you really start experiencing your body in a different way, and your mind also, and you start having perspectives you didn't have. I guess
I
that's the elevator pitch more.
I get it. Like we're all on this beginning journey, but yeah, I think whatever you said is what needed to be said to someone who's listening. So you put it out there, and that's amazing. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this with me because and our listeners, because I think even like you said at the beginning, my initial reaction is, oh, it's about sex, which like you said, there's nothing wrong with that. I was like, oh, okay, that's a great one. But when you started to really dive into it, I really saw how it's expanding and how it had the potential. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Um, so again, like I said, it's a true honor. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here at the Organic Journey, we're building a thriving community that loves consuming content on wellness, natural living, and organic living. This is your journey. And to find out more about how to apply these techniques that we've learned today in your own journey to wellness, reach out and connect with Ella on her Facebook page at Spark of Life Healing, or connect with her on LinkedIn. So Ella Fuksberger, right? Fuksbrauner. And that's all yes, right. So that's all the time we have for today, folks. Remember, you're changing the conversation on your own wellness. So live organically.